Welcome, people. It is I, Krubus136. Sorry, I'm just fixing my camera. There we go. Okie dokie. So, I'm going to keep my camera here, even though it's kind of inconvenient. I know that my camera is right there. But I do want to, it is just going to be convenient when I actually play DotA. So, thankfully, coordinator's down anyway, so that's perfect time for us to go over the new patch, 7.34b. It's pretty lengthy, but not terribly so. I think we can go over this in about 30 minutes, ideally. That's the goal. So, starting now. Biggest changes for me are these first two. Glimmer Cape cooldown increased from 12 to 14 seconds. So, Glimmer Cape, I've always voiced, is an item that I feel kind of about. It's a really good item. The problem with Glimmer Cape is that 5 seconds of invisibility with movement speed and a magic damage barrier and some magic resistance for the person who holds it, for the cost that it is really strong. If you made it too expensive, it won't be bought at all because it'll just be too much, and they'll go for other items like, mules, force staff, whatever. But it's a really strong item, and I want to see it nerfed. How I want to see it nerfed is a little shorter invis, but I'll take cooldown for sure, right? This is just going to make the item down that much more often, which is going to make these supports easier to jump on, etc. Spirit Vessel. Cost went down by 200, which is a big deal for a Spirit Vessel, right? Expensive item, but very valuable in countering heroes like Huskar, etc. All they changed is that instead of a crown, it's now a fluffy hat, right? So the change right there is the 200. Everything else is the same, but because of that change, where crown gives stat ups, the second crown. So the second crown gives stat ups just like the first crown does, and instead it's health. So now all attributes bonuses have decreased by 6, but now it gives 125 health coming from Fluffy Hat. So I would say this makes the item arguably better on a support, but worse for like a 3 or something. It being cheaper by 200 means it's easier to build. So you buy a Spirit Vessel, it's not as painful. On the flip side, losing 6 to all stats is really painful. That's like really painful. So I think that this is something that, and the health helps, but, and I guess it helps supports too, but the 6 stats would have given you 6 strength, which would have given you, about that anyway. I think right about the same. I forget the new health formula because it changed a while ago, but it's about the same. So you're getting the same health you would have anyway, and if it's your primary attribute, you don't gain damage, and you also don't get armor, attack speed, magic resistance, small though they may be. So, I don't know. It's kind of a buff in some regards because it's easier to get by the cost, but it's definitely a worse item. Abaddon. Self-damage was decreased from 50% of the damage dealt to 40%. It can't deny anymore anyway. So all that means is that Abaddon doesn't have as high of a cost, right? So the health cost of this went down for Abaddon. He doesn't have to hurt himself as much. Now that's one benefit. The nerf is that when Abaddon ults, now he can't do as much damage to him because that would heal him during ults. I would say that's minor. I would say buff overall, but definitely has like a niche like hurt. The damage and heal did increase, so that's going to probably mean the same thing for the self-damage anyway. They went up by 10, 15, 20, 25, which is pretty steep. 25 damage at the end is a pretty big deal for the damage heal, especially since it can be amplified by lots of different things. And the cast range went up by 25, making Abaddon much better for support. I'm not saying you can't core. Not going down that road. Just that as a support, I would much rather see the Abaddon now because he can hit you from farther for more heal. Armor got a base. Alchemist got a base armor increase. Armor got a base armor increase. Alchemist got a base armor increase, and I think that this is annoying. He's already tanky. Bonus move speed for his ult also went up by at the earlier levels went up. It's the same late. So the earlier levels I don't care as much. Not that Alchemist can't be relevant at 6, but it's not really where he shines. He shines closer to 12, and the move speed increase there is only 5. So I don't think this is going to matter terribly. The base armor is more annoying for lane Alk. It's harder to push him out of lane. Base armor increased on Arc Warden, much harder to kill him. The cooldown of Magnetic Field went down, and now scales down. I hate Arc Warden anyway, and I don't even know what's good on him. He just is good. So anti-buff to Arc Warden makes me mad. Shuriken Toss. It got a buff of 20 damage at all levels. Remember that during his Aghanim's, he can make it bounce repeatedly. Right? The double bounce. Which means multiply that by 2 on the effectiveness on each hero. I would posit to say that Aghanim's might even be more justifiable now. Because now he can do so much more. You know, so much more for the his bonus damage from track targets anyway, which is stupid. It's just a good ability and just getting better, and it makes me mad because I hate Bounty Hunter. Brewmaster had too big of a crit, so at all levels it was nerfed for the fire stance. That's probably good, needed. Bristleback has a bit higher strength gain and a better base mana regen. I think that's needed too. Bristleback doesn't feel like he's really in the meta terribly. I think his problem is that he's just not tanky enough for what he is, which is why they're doing the strength gain. And it's too hard to keep him mana'd up because there's not a lot of good items that give him enough mana to consistently cast, right? To throw everything, right? To, you know, get the hairball shit. To use his new ability where he shoots quills out repeatedly, spamming the whole time through. So I think just trying to get this base mana regen up, and quite dramatically, by the way, it's a 0.15 increase, which actually is not low. This is nice. This is just like a quality of life. I don't think Bristleback will be like crazy played, but he's a little bit more viable in some situations, and I think that's needed. Crystal Clone got the AoE increase. Basically, if it takes enough damage, everybody that's near it gets frostbited. So giving the AoE increase of 100 just makes a much bigger circle that people will get frostbitten in. I think it's needed. The AoE is really small, so I don't know. I've never seen it get built, but just conceptually, I know what 300 AoE looks like. It's just nice to see that they're like, okay, like it has to actually be like useful, you know. Dazzle Shadow Wave got a buff at the earlier levels for the heal and damage. Honestly, it's not the ability that aggravates me about Dazzle. It's Poison Touch, so I don't really care terribly. I mean, it is shitty to have the heal and damage nuke go up early, but it doesn't change late, and that's really where it matters, so The delay on Rolling Boulder was increased by 0.1 seconds. What that means is he's in the startup for 0.1 seconds longer. So it takes longer for him to start rolling, which is a weakness because it hurts the initiation. It hurts the de-initiation. And actually, since he can be stunned during that original delay, that also hurts him. So it's just to make him a little fairer. He was just getting off the cuff too fast, to my understanding. Not that I play him, but so good. Enchantress got a strength gain up of 0.3. I think they nerfed her untouchable last patch, if I remember correctly. So if that's the case, this is fine. Otherwise, I hate her. But if she got other nerfs that affect her, I'm fine with her getting a strength gain up. Because it's okay to be a little tanky as long as it's not attack speed tanky. Honestly, I'm just going to check that because I don't remember. I gotta know now. Yeah, they nerfed the early ult. So I just wanted her to be a little tanky, so I'll take that. Enigma. So they changed his demonic summoning. That's the new name of it instead of Eidolons. I think they changed it because of demonic conversion is what it was. They renamed it to demonic summoning because it's a lot different now. It's now a point targeted ability, meaning you choose where your target within a 400 cast range, so anywhere you want, instead of just a round Enigma. It makes it easier for them to do their job. And the mana cost was decreased because now it's a health cost. So now it's easier to cast mana-wise, but the health is still going to hurt Enigma. I think this is a fair change, right? To lower the mana cost to balance the fact that it costs health, and now you can cast them farther away. Like, that's kind of cool. Invoker got a base armor nerf. Cooldown reduction doesn't work on items for Wex. They nerfed everything about Ghostwalk's passives, basically everything about it, and nerfed some talents. So I think that's, I don't know how Invoker is now with all the changes. I haven't really checked, but I guess he must have been pretty strong, which makes sense. Because now he's a universal hero, he gets a lot of benefits, so I think that's needed. Aghanim Scepter's Ice Wall, the ice walls that surround the ult when you have Ags, were slowing too much, so they nerfed that by 10% because they just didn't let you move, which I think is fair. And they nerfed some of his talents. Luna's Burn lasts 1 more second. The reason why that matters is it actually increases the damage it does. Because since the burn does, max level 40, it's 40 each tick, I believe, the damage over time. So that means it's another tick of 40. So it does more damage, and it's going to prevent blink daggers for longer, stuff like that as well. So I think it's a really good buff for them. Buff to talents, minor, but still. Lone Druid got a base strength increase of 2. I don't know why. I don't know why he needs to be tankier. Honestly, fuck Lone Druid, like, real talk. They buffed Moonglade's Ag. It just, I haven't seen it, but I guess the orbit radius was kind of weak, so they made it, go farther from Luna and hit easier. You know what I mean? I haven't seen it, but I guess that's probably good. I don't really feel like it's that useful. I don't want people next to me when I'm Luna. Eclipse cooldown went down, so it's actually lower than it's ever been. So it used to scale down to 120. It's now always 110. That's a really nice change for Luna. So she can cast this much more often. And I think that's really needed. I don't know if it's going to really be like that helpful, but it's just always nice when you have a big ult seeing a cooldown reduction. Thank God for this. Nobody wants to buy Shockwave's Ag Shard for Magnus because it doesn't do enough damage. 50% on the return was not enough, and nobody cared. It makes Shockwave come back. It slows and damages again for 50%. They increased it to 75%. Now we're talking for farming and for fighting and stuff. Empower's bonus damage increased 4 at all levels. Cleave's damage increased at earlier levels. Most levels, actually, but it still scales to the same. I didn't want to see an Empower change, to be honest with you. I don't like that Magnus is a right-click hero. I think that's just annoying. So I really didn't want to see any of these buffs. I wanted Empower to be changed, actually, so this is annoying to me as a whole. Okay, most controversial change for me, because I don't understand what it's going to mean. Marcy, her strikes per flurry, it's not supposed to be flurry, increased by 1 at all levels. So, I'm going to explain why this is kind of a weird thing. Number 1, look at the buff. The buff is that Marcy will attack faster in general. With the strikes having 1 more hit, she'll get more hits quicker, and that obviously matters for crits and for procs and all this damage that she does. But here's the flip side. Her pulses that slow you and attack slow you, I believe, they do damage and move slow. Yep, and attack slow. So they damage you, move slow you, attack slow you when she pulses. And she doesn't pulse to the last hit of her flurry. So moving it back means it's harder to get the actual pulse. On that note, her shard ags, also does a silence when she, I don't know why I can't make it do the thing, but I could have done it before. I don't know what happened to it. There it is. No, it's not showing. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but she used to get her ags, I think, is it changes it so she purges herself when she casts it, and she also does silence on the pulse. So delaying the pulse by 1 is actually a nerf. So it's kind of both, because she's not going to get that damage, which actually is a lot. 150. You're making the 150 happen more spaced out. And you're making the slow and the attack slow more spaced out, and the silence more spaced out. That's all nerfs. But buffs to have the attacks happen faster, because of course 1 more attack at that attack speed before she has to wait for the large cooldown, 1.5 second cooldown to then do it again, is a buff, right? Because if she's gonna have to wait anyway, you might as well increase the attacks. So I can see this going either direction, and I have to see this actually play out, because it could be both a buff and a nerf. It's such a simple thing. Mars' spear was buffed. 5, 10, 15? Yep, 5, 10, 15. Which is nice. It's for the arena one. Because they spear you, so that means every time you hit those spears, they're going to do that much more damage. Which often is multiple, so that's nice too. I'd actually rather this, like those spears, rather than his spear. So that's good. Meeple's Earthbind's faster, that's just annoying. It is too slow, but it's just annoying. Buff to Marauder Talons, whatever. Primal Spring's cooldown went down by 2 at all levels. That's actually needed. I've played Monkey King. It does feel like a long wait. I'm fine with this. It does feel like a long time you can't jump. Mischief no longer limits movement speed, so now when you change into a tree or shit, you can actually move at your normal speed, and it actually makes you faster. So now you're going to see Monkey Kings turn into shit when they're running away. I don't want to see this. This looks aggravating as fuck, because now Monkey King is going to turn into a tree and run. And you're going to see a running tree or whatever going as fast as he goes, but actually faster. So if you had trouble catching Monkey King anyway when he's running at his max speed, imagine catching the tree that you can't even see right away, because you're going to go into the fog and be like, where? Oh, the tree! Right? It's going to take you the extra time to ascertain which tree to hit. So it's really annoying. Morph got a strength gain increase of 0.2, just what he needed, honestly. He really just needed to get tankier. I mean, Morphling, definitely my favorite hero to play against. Love that hero. They nerfed Hunter of the Night's Shard. It's the one where he eats a creep, gets health and mana. They made it actually have a mana cost, so he can't cast it if he has no mana. And the cooldown went up by 10 whole seconds. That was needed. It was way too much. It gives him, so much. It's absolutely bonkers how much it gives him. Repel, they realized, had way too long of a cooldown, so now at the later levels, it went down by a whopping 9 seconds. A 9-second cooldown change for a regular ability is actually bonkers. So that's really big. They really had fucked up Repel, so I'm glad they changed that. Pango got a strength gain increase. It's minor, it's 0.2, but needed because they did nerf him a little bit. And the mana cost for his Shield Crash went down by 10 at all levels. I mean, Shield Crash is kind of useless now. To some degree, so it's much worse than it used to be, so I guess that's needed. I don't know. PA, I guess, wasn't good. I guess was good. I do not think so. I played her. It did not feel good. Base agility nerf, so that's by 2. 2 damage, 2 attack speed, some armor, like a third armor. That's really big. And lifesteal now has a penalty on creeps. It should. They all do. So that's needed, but as a nerf. So, honestly, I think PA is unplayable. I really do think PA is unplayable. Maybe I'm overreacting, but, man, I do not like new PA. Honestly, they ruined the hero. Here are the changes I was waiting for. Let's go. Base attack speed nerf on Ricky, 10. 10 whole attack speed. Thank you. Smokescreen no longer lingers if you leave the duration. The area. You're no longer silenced. Which was needed. It was stupid that it lingered for 0.5 seconds. They nerfed his talent on agility for Tricks of the Trade. They nerfed his talent for agility backstab. They nerfed his talent on Tricks of the Trade cooldown reduction. So they just hit Ricky hard. They just went smack. Much needed. Rubik's impact radius, which is when he throws somebody, the radius in which you could be stunned by the thrown hero, is rescaled. So now it's less to start. Then at level 2, it's the same as it used to be, but then it gets higher. So now it's easier for Rubik to actually stun a lot of heroes. And for a support Rubik, I think that's really good. He can now actually stun people with the person he's throwing. And I think that's cool. It's not even that long of a stun, honestly. The stun duration is 1.5 seconds. So it's not even it's a big stun. I think it's needed, though. He just didn't feel, to me, like a phenomenal stunner. And I'm not even saying he needs it. He has the ability to steal spells. But this is a way to buff Rubik without buffing the things that make him aggravating. It would be aggravating to buff Arcane Supremacy. It would be aggravating to change the way he steals spells that would benefit him. It would be aggravating if his Fade Bolt did more damage. This is a buff that's okay. is it that aggravating? And I would say no. It's like, okay, like he can just, it's easier for him to stun you, like whatever. Oh, that's really cool. They buffed this talent. It used to be 0.4 seconds lift duration. Now it's 0.4 second lift duration and the stun duration. So you can add 0.4 to that 1.5, so it's 1.9. Because I guess the stun didn't really hit the heroes he threw against, so it's nice that he can actually add that to his stun too. Good on Rubik. Sand King needed a nerf. Base damage nerfed by 2. Damage on Burrow Strike nerfed by 20 at all levels. Sandstorm movement speed decreased, so now it's a scale to that 100, so he's slower early. They changed his shard now, in case people don't remember. Now randomly activates an epicenter pulse. That used to do it based on distance he traveled. Now it just happens. They realized that was too strong, so now it takes a whole second more for it to activate. And the slow on it is only 50% of the values of the ult because it was too much. It slowed too much. And the Sandstorm Radius, which is one of his better talents since it goes with his Aghanims really well, got nerfed. So now his Sandstorm can't be that big. So that was a huge nerf too because he can't have the Mega Sandstorm and then stuns people. So this is a lot of nerfs. This is like a huge Sand King nerf patch. I love that. So 30 minutes. I'm definitely going to hit that too. Oh, good. The coordinator came back. About to be finished. Okay, so Mike's not watching. I'll just type that in. Slardar. He gets extra damage for his bash if he's in water. They reduce that just slightly. Good enough for me. 2, 4, 6, 8. They nerfed one of his talents too for sprint. I don't really care about that. Techies does a higher stun now at higher levels. So instead of 1.25, it's 1.4, which I like to see. Like, I'm glad that it's a bigger stun because that's what I want to see Techies buffed in. I don't want to see him buff for the other shit. Treant can heal and do damage better on Leech Seed. You got a little bit of a buff. It's slight. It's 5 at all levels. Probably needed though. Heroes inside the Tombstone when he has Aghanim Shard are now stunned for 3 seconds if it gets destroyed, meaning that you can't just be like, oh, you're in the Tombstone, oh, the Tombstone's destroyed, goodbye, walk away. Like, now it's a risk. Now, like, it's like, oh, avoid Black Hole. And if it gets destroyed, that hero inside is stunned. Like, so that's a risk. So you want to get them out quickly, too. He also got a move speed nerf of 10 at all levels for Flesh Golem, so he's slower. This is a really big Undying nerf for both of those things. Very big hit. Magic Missile went up by 0.3 seconds at all levels for the stun. That sounds minor because it's 0.3 seconds, but basically that's the nerf that Vengeful Spirit got when we moved to the BKB nerf patch. So with all of those changes, it's to get it reverted is a really big deal for Venge. Warlock got an attack speed nerf of 10. Love it. Hate Warlock. Also got a nerf on these imp movements. I haven't even seen them, honestly. Splinter Blast is a little cheaper at all levels. Late levels. The cooldown is a little lower, just to make Winter Wyvern be able to use it and slow people. I don't know, it seems minor. Base damage in Witch Doctor decreased by 3, that's dramatic. Ink gain decreased by 0.2, also affects damage. Attack range decreased by 100 on Death Ward, that's really bad. Cooldown increased from 60 to scale from 100 down to 60, meaning Death Ward won't be up as much. The talent for Death Ward attack range got nerfed by 25. The Death Ward damage decreased by 15. This is a fucking... Oh my god, he's still playable. Actually, funny enough, I still think he's playable. But man, that's painful. That's like a big fucking hit. Like, ouch. Strength gain on Wraith King decreased by 0.2. That's minor. Aghanim Scepter, which I don't remember what it... I guess Aghanim Scepter brought his reincarnation's cooldown by 40 seconds. Now it's only by 30 seconds. So that means that it's another 10 seconds he has to wait, which means Wraith King is actually much more vulnerable. That's like a big deal. That is the end of our patch review. I'm about to go get that. About to actually end the broadcast and restart it. Sorry, I have to pick my thingies. I'll just do that one. Easy. I think the big takeaways for this patch probably are going to be these two items are definitely going to be... I don't think I'm not going to see a Glimmer Cape, but it's definitely going to change a little bit of who buys them and stuff. I don't think most of these heroes... Bristleback might see play. Enigma might be playable. Again, maybe. Luna's much better. Magnus is going to see play, unfortunately. More Smurfs will come in with Meepo. Monkey King will be more annoying than ever, even though I'm kind of okay with it. PA's not playable anymore. Ricky might not be playable anymore. Big nerf, honestly. Sand King is back to being a regular hero instead of super strong. And Witch Doctor is no longer one of the strongest supports. I mean, I guess that'd be my takeaway. All right, well, appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Those of you on Twitch, I'll be right back.